America's newest challenge for world supremacy in merchant marine is launched at Newport News. She's the United States, and she's been 16 months of building, with 11 more months to go to complete the luxurious interior fittings. The first passenger ship ever built in a graving dock, the United States is floated by letting water into the dry dock instead of splashing the ship down into the river. Despite the innovation, there's a traditional christening with Senator Tom Connolly's wife wielding the bottle of champagne. At an $80 million cost, the liner is easily the most expensive ever built. She's also the safest, designed for conversion to troop transportation. The government is paying much of the cost, but hopes the United States will serve only in a peaceful merchant marine.
The United States bow shape was ideally suited for slicing through waves. It would provide a more comfortable ride for passengers and enable her to maintain her high speed. But below the waterline, a slight bulbous bow also made her more efficient, burning less oil and making it easier for her to cut through the ocean. You're standing in line with the big number 2 cargo hold, with space for stores, baggage, and even cars. The bow is still very thin here. In fact, the unique shape made sure the ship could slice cleanly through the ocean at high speed. This is one of the bilge keels that help provide some stability against rolling. The United States was one of the last generation of passenger ships built without retractable stabilizing fins. Instead, these shallow keels on either side of the hull help to keep the ship pointed upright in big seas. United States featured an inner hull, like a second skin, that rose up high from the keel and protected from impacts from the side. But the empty spaces created by the inner skin provided a crucial purpose, serving as fuel tanks for the vast amount of oil required to keep United States roaring ahead. She was burning about 600 tons of the stuff every day. Behind the shell plating here is the mail room, a critical storage space for all the parcels, letters and crates posted overseas. The coveted US mail contract helped subsidise United States operation, and her speed meant the timely delivery of important mail. These propellers were designed by a team headed by the female engineer Elaine Kaplan, who was handpicked by Chief Architect William Francis Gibbs. She and her team created the brilliant screws, which each weighed 60,000 pounds, or about 30 tons. The balanced rudder at the stern post here was similar to those fitted to battleships and aircraft carriers. It was well suited to use at high speeds and made United States fairly manoeuvrable, even for a ship of her size and speed. Famously, the United States could go as fast backwards as many ships could manage going forwards. On her sea trials, it's said that she travelled at 22 knots while going in reverse, which would actually be top forward speed for most ships. United States' forward set of propellers featured 4 blades, cast of manganese bronze, while the aft pair behind them had 5 blades instead. This provided exceptional hydrodynamic performance, and it had actually been used on vessels like the USS Iowa and her sisters during the war. You're standing almost in line with the watertight bulkhead that separated the aft boiler and engine rooms. The engine room here, like its forward equivalent, featured 4 turbine engines, each made up of a high and low pressure turbine, a similar arrangement of machinery to the Iowa-class battleships of the Second World War. All up, the turbines could produce an astounding 247,785 shaft horsepower at full steam. Because the boiler and engine rooms were separated into two separate units, the space in between could be used for storage, unlike on other ships where a single powertrain took up the entire length of the ship's lower hull. Behind the plating here was storage for fruit, potatoes, vegetables, linen, and even beer. Here is about level with the forward engine room. The turbine engines were separated into forward and aft rooms, each paired with a boiler room to protect against gunfire or torpedo attacks, hinting at the ship's secret dual purpose as an efficient troop transport in times of war. This is one of the bilge keels that help provide some stability against rolling. The United States was one of the last generation of passenger ships built without retractable stabilizing fins. Instead, these shallow keels on either side of the hull help to keep the ship pointed upright in big seas. You're standing outside the forward boiler room. In here were 4 Babs and Wilcox superheated boilers running at an astounding 925 psi of steam pressure and temperatures exceeding 970 degrees Fahrenheit or 520 Celsius. It's a long way to the back of the ship, but I promise it's worth the walk. The United States is 990 feet or 304 meters long, about the length of more than 2.5 football fields. This enormous anchor is one of 3 kept on the ship's bow. Although they were rarely used between Southampton and New York, they proved invaluable on cruises where smaller ports couldn't fit the ship. The Big U could anchor out in the harbour and ferry passengers ashore via tender.